What started as a seemingly perfect marriage quickly spiraled into a web of lies, betrayal, and murder. Jennifer Dulos, a devoted mother, vanished without a trace. But the truth behind her disappearance is darker than anyone could have imagined. Was it a tragic accident, or did her husband, Fotis Dulos, orchestrate a deadly conspiracy? With shocking revelations, disturbing footage, and a trail of blood that led to a horrifying discovery, this case is more twisted than you could ever imagine. Stay tuned to uncover the chilling details. Perfect marriage. Jennifer Dulos and her husband, Fotis Dulos, appeared to have the perfect marriage. From the outside, they seemed like a power couple, living in an affluent Connecticut neighborhood. Jennifer, a mother of 5, was an elegant and well-liked woman, while Fotis, a successful real estate developer, seemed to have it all. They enjoyed the luxuries of life. Luxury cars, a beautiful home, and vacations in exotic locations. Their marriage, however, was far from perfect. Behind closed doors, things were not as rosy as they appeared. Friends and family began to notice subtle changes. Jennifer, once outgoing and confident, started to seem withdrawn and uneasy. She often confided in close friends about her growing concerns over her husband's controlling behavior. Fotis, on the other hand, became more distant, obsessed with his business deals, and frequently demanded Jennifer's complete attention. In the years leading up to Jennifer's disappearance, cracks began to show in their marriage. Jennifer sought help from a divorce attorney, but things would take a much darker turn before she could escape the toxic relationship. Little did anyone know, this seemingly perfect life was on the verge of unraveling into something sinister, leading to one of the most shocking cases of suspected murder and conspiracy. The stage was set. What looked like a dream marriage was slowly turning into a nightmare. And on May 24, 2019, Jennifer vanished, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions that would soon reveal the tragic truth. Sudden disappearance. On May 24, 2019, Jennifer Dulos was last seen dropping her children off at school. Her disappearance seemed to come out of nowhere, leaving her friends, family, and the community in complete shock. Jennifer had always been a devoted mother, and her sudden absence raised immediate alarms. She missed several important appointments, and when no one heard from her, worry quickly turned into fear. The police launched an intense investigation, but Jennifer's disappearance was unlike any ordinary case. There were no signs of a struggle at her home, no ransom note, and no apparent motive. Her car was found abandoned in a parking lot miles away from her house, with no clues as to where she had gone or what had happened to her. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. As the days passed, suspicion began to fall on Jennifer's estranged husband, Fotis Dulos. Despite their divorce proceedings, Fotis had been in frequent contact with Jennifer, and his behavior during the investigation raised more questions than answers. He appeared anxious, evasive, and, most disturbingly, was seen on surveillance footage near Jennifer's home the day she disappeared. The case quickly turned from a missing person investigation to something far more sinister. Many began to believe that Jennifer's disappearance was not an accident, but part of a calculated plan. The possibility of foul play began to emerge, and the search for Jennifer took on a more ominous tone. Suspicious events. As the investigation into Jennifer Dulos' disappearance deepened, disturbing events began to unfold, leading investigators down a dark and twisted path. A few days after Jennifer's vanishing, surveillance footage from nearby cameras revealed a series of odd and suspicious occurrences. Fotis Dulos was seen in the area around the time of his wife's disappearance, and even more chilling, video evidence showed him disposing of trash bags in a nearby dumpster, later determined to contain items linked to Jennifer. The discovery of these bags set off a chain of events that only added to the mystery. The contents inside were not just personal belongings. They included items that raised red flags, such as a bloodstained shirt, cleaning supplies, and other potential evidence of foul play. These findings, along with Fotis' odd behavior during this period, led authorities to question his role in his wife's disappearance. Fotis had claimed that he had no involvement and expressed confusion over the events. However, his actions and the mounting evidence suggested otherwise. Even more disturbing were the messages that came to light, showing Jennifer's fear of her husband in the months leading up to her disappearance. Jennifer had been in the process of finalizing her divorce, and her increasing anxiety about Fotis's behavior painted a picture of a man capable of far more than emotional abuse. As these suspicious events began to unfold, it became increasingly clear that Jennifer's disappearance was not a random act. It was part of a deliberate plan, orchestrated by someone who had once been the love of her life. The truth, it seemed, was far darker than anyone could have imagined. Investigation unfolds. As the investigation into Jennifer Dulos's disappearance unfolded, the police and investigators uncovered a web of lies, deceit, and mounting evidence that pointed directly toward Fotis Dulos. What had started as a missing person case quickly morphed into a homicide investigation, with Fotis at the center of suspicion. Forensic experts examined the surveillance footage, and the analysis of the trash bags found near Fotis's home revealed even more incriminating evidence. They found traces of Jennifer's blood, confirming the worst fears. Jennifer had been the victim of violence. But despite the overwhelming evidence, Fotis continued to deny any involvement in her disappearance. His story seemed to change with each new discovery, and the inconsistencies in his statements only fueled the suspicion surrounding him. The police discovered that Fotis had a motive, one that went beyond just the bitterness of a divorce. Financial troubles had plagued Fotis, and his personal and professional life were teetering on the edge of collapse. With Jennifer seeking full custody of their children and a fair division of assets, Fotis seemed desperate to maintain control over his life and wealth. Authorities also uncovered a troubling history of harassment and threats that Fotis had made against Jennifer. This included disturbing messages and a pattern of controlling behavior. Jennifer had feared for her safety, which led her to take steps toward securing her independence and protecting her children from his grasp. As the investigation deepened, the evidence continued to pile up against Fotis. But even as police closed in on him, there was one chilling question that remained unanswered. Where was Jennifer, and what had truly happened to her? Shocking revelations. As the investigation reached its peak, shocking revelations began to surface, adding more complexity to the case and leaving the public in disbelief. Fotis Dulos was arrested and charged with the murder of his wife, Jennifer. But the twists didn't stop there. The most startling discovery came when the police uncovered evidence suggesting that Fotis had planned Jennifer's murder long before the day she disappeared. Forensic experts revealed that Jennifer had suffered blunt force trauma, and her body had been disposed of in a calculated manner. It became clear that this wasn't a crime of passion, but a cold, premeditated act. What was even more unsettling was the involvement of Fotis's girlfriend, Michelle Traconis, who had been an accomplice in helping him cover up the crime. Surveillance footage later showed both Fotis and Michelle cleaning up his car, further cementing their roles in the conspiracy. As the details of the murder plot unraveled, the extent of Fotis's manipulation and control over Jennifer came to light. He had orchestrated the entire event, believing that eliminating his wife would solve his financial and personal problems. His desperate need to maintain his wealth and custody of the children had driven him to take extreme measures. However, the shocking part of the revelation was the chilling calm with which he went about his actions, making the crime even more terrifying. In addition to Fotis and Michelle, the investigation revealed that several others may have been aware of the plot but failed to act. The web of lies and cover-ups seemed to stretch far beyond what investigators initially imagined. As the details of the murder conspiracy came into focus, it was clear that Jennifer's tragic fate was the result of a sinister plan, driven by greed, jealousy, and manipulation. The once perfect marriage had devolved into a nightmare, and the truth had finally come to light. Too late for Jennifer, but it would forever haunt those involved. Possible conspiracy. The final pieces of the puzzle pointed to a larger conspiracy behind Jennifer Dulos's murder. As the investigation continued, it became evident that Fotis Dulos wasn't acting alone in this sinister plot. Michelle Traconis, his girlfriend, played a crucial role in helping him cover his tracks, but the question remained: who else was involved? Investigators began to probe deeper into Fotis's connections, uncovering a possible network of individuals who might have helped or enabled him. Was there a larger conspiracy at play? Could others have been complicit in this horrific act? As the investigation continued to unfold, the shocking possibility of more people being involved left everyone questioning just how far the web of deceit stretched. The true extent of the conspiracy might never be fully uncovered, but one thing was certain. Jennifer Dulos's death was not a tragic accident, but a calculated and cold-blooded crime. If you were shocked by the twists in Jennifer Dulos's case, make sure to hit the subscribe button for more mind-bending stories like this. What do you think? Was Jennifer's death part of a calculated conspiracy, or was Fotis acting alone? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't miss our next video, the tragic case of Eric Richins, a shocking murder and family secrets coming soon. You won't want to miss it.